Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone for the second day of the ICNSEE 2022 conference. Remember, this is our first ever conference. We had a very interesting day yesterday. There were 5 keynote presentations, along with 10 contributory talks as well. Today, we have 4 more keynote presentations and the remaining around, I think, about 15 presentations today. So the session chair for this one is Professor Dr. Kalyan Das and Professor Dr. Anwar Jahid. So we asked Professor Kalyan Das to take the chair, and then he can share later on with Professor Anwar Jahid. We would request him to introduce the keynote speaker. The keynote speaker is Professor Dr. Haider Biswas. And then after the short 1-minute introduction, we will, Professor Haider Biswas will take over. Okay. Thank you. Professor Kalyan Das, please start your introduction.
Good morning, all of you. So, Professor Hossain, all the other dignitaries. So right now, the keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Haider Ali Biswas. He is the President of Bangladesh Society for Mathematical Biology and also Vice President of Bangladesh Mathematical Society. I'm just giving some of the bullet points about Professor Biswas. He is right now the Associate Vice President in Conference Unit of IIK Division. He is also the head of the department in the area of mathematics, applicable mathematics, and additionally, he is also the distinguished faculty in mathematics at the Science Unit of OE Division, NSRIC. He's a very senior person. He has a lot of publication of books, chapters, and more than 200 research papers in national and international reputed journals. He is also had a track record of R&D projects in the different parts in Bangladesh and also abroad. He is the member of the World Academy of Science, Trieste, Italy. Right now he's working on the interest of optical control problems, non-smooth analysis, ordinary differential equation, and also in the dynamical system, mathematical modeling, particular on ecology and climate change, mathematical biology, and also in the infectious disease. So last 2 decades, he has a very good track record. He is also the member of the Institute of Mathematics and IMA, UK, and European Mathematical Society. Dr. Biswas is the founder of Mathematical Forum in Khulna University, and right now he is serving as a General Secretary of the forum in 2013 to 2015, and it is continuing. So I will request to Professor Biswas, your presentation title is Optimization for Mathematical Modeling, Sustainable Management of Natural Resources. So please you take over the charges. Dr. Anwar Hossain, please take the charges to also give a short points about Professor Biswas also.
Thank you, Professor Raj. Thank you for your very long introduction. I am just sharing my screen. So should it be allowed, Habiba?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. You can share your screen.
Okay, sure. Sounds good. It's visible, right?
Yes, we can see your screen. You can proceed.
Okay, so thank you everybody, and very welcome to my talk. Actually, this is mostly very much related to mathematics, but how mathematics can be applied in different area of real life problems, especially for the management of our natural resources. So I will show from the beginning just very basic foundation actually, because when we talk about the application, we need to go for the background actually, how mathematics works there and how it is applied in our real life situation. So this is the usually my talk is divided in two categories. So just first one is motivation, and this related to theory, how theory is developed, especially optimization, and what is the very basic link of optimal control. And then this is the application in resource management and how we can use this resource management and make a forecasting, make a prediction, how can be utilized, optimized way to for our sustainable management or ecosystem. So this is actually the Euler. We know, all mathematician knows this name. He is a very pronoun proverb. He told that actually nothing happened in this universe where some form of maximization or minimization does not happen. Actually, this is the real phenomena, and we would like to optimize, suppose profit maximizing, benefit maximizing, or cost minimizing, all the things in the universe happening in this two main dominate area. And this is a vast area actually, the optimization. So we all know who are mathematician here, especially also the engineers who are very much related to mathematics. So it is a very vast area, but we'll cover only some dynamic optimization problem. So optimization actually the basic methodology or the art of the technique of achieving the best possible results, best possible way of inputs, outputs. What is the input under this, behind this or? But this should be done under some restriction, some conditions, some circumstances. In more precisely, we can say this is the actually process of finding some condition which can give either maximum or minimum benefits from the dynamical objects of society. But when this optimization technique is involved over time, because all things are happening in the universe, this is actually over the time. So this is the evolution of time, especially for the climate sense. This is the reality now. So, but it is happening over the time. So all the things actually are described in terms of the dynamical system, and this is the dynamic optimization problem. So basic foundation of this type of model, actually in mathematically, if we say, what do we do here? We would like to minimize some objective function or maximize some objective function subject to some dynamic constant. So this constant actually time variant dynamical system. So this is actually mathematics, and how mathematics works here, because this is the rate of change of any dynamical system, we call it differential equation. So this may be differential equation, difference equation, or many other form of dynamical system. So this is the basic theory, but how it comes with our optimal control problem. Suppose you can see all dynamical system we consider in terms of a function, but the function actually involve two arguments. One argument is the state variable, and the another argument is the time. So this is actually the time evolution. This called the dynamical system. But of course, this dynamical system should have some initial condition, that is the initial values, because all things, everything should have some initial stage, and then we can predict for the future position. But when this dynamical system is controlled with some external mechanism, we call this controlled dynamical system. And this controlled dynamical system is nothing actually This is the optimal control problem, and we actually do here maximize or minimize this objective function, as I showed in the before from the beginning first slide. This is actually the objective function, and under some dynamic constant, this is the differential equation. So this is the more fundamental problem usually in terms of mathematics. So if we are working in this area, we can understand actually this foundation of mathematical model, but actually we are very much interested to go how this mathematics works in our real life model and in our computational simulation. So this will be interesting when I'll go for further. But just very background, I am saying this. Here we can say the objective function, and this objective function actually may have two parts. One is the first part, and the second is the integral part. Actually, this is two part together with all the objective function. So main idea is here, we need to validate this type of model first, because we mathematician, we know how to validate the model first, and then this model can be applied in real application, in real situation, using some data, using some it may be the primary or maybe the secondary, but all these data set the real data. When we feed the data in the model, we can give the feedback our real situation. So the main idea is here, we would like to find such kind of control U, so that our objective function is maximized or minimized. So then this pair of variable, that is one is a state variable.
Well, Professor Haider Biswas, I just want to interrupt you for a minute. If you click the bottom, the PowerPoint slide, your thing will expand. You're having very small slide, and you're talking just with one slide. Your slides are not moving.
No, but here it is not moving.
No, you're not showing any slides. You're just stuck to your first slide.
Actually not moving.
Because you have not pressed the PowerPoint. You know?
No, it is here, it is moving, but I am sharing again. I don't know what is the problem.
Habiba, can you direct our speaker to see so that his there it is. Now it's moving. Thank you.
Is okay?
Thank you.
Okay, so the main idea actually to find such type of optimal solution when our objective function will be maximized or minimized. So this is the very basic theoretical idea behind this type of problem. So, okay, is moving now? Is okay, right? Okay,
perfect.
Yeah. So actually, this type of problem, this optimization problem, is based on some necessary condition. This necessary condition actually is mathematical, and this is the foundation of the solution. This necessary condition is done in terms of Hamiltonian. So this is the set of necessary condition. We call it optimality condition. We call the adjoint equation, and we call some intransvalacity condition. So all these conditions are called the set of necessary conditions. So this solution exactly not the unique one. This is the set of necessary condition to be solved, to be verified using this type of problem. But the one problem should be mentioned here. We cannot make any bound on the control variable. So this is important. If we don't put any bound on the control, then such kind of solution may not be realistic. So in that case, control should be bounded, and when control should be bounded, this type of condition is as at a time necessary and sufficient. So this condition is called the Pontryagin maximum principle. So this is the idea, and one problem I just make a motivation. If we don't put any control, you can see the solution may be the negative one. It passed the time axis, axis, you can see. So control should be bounded. It is very important. So there are many theory already I developed, and it is working. So I am going to application directly, how it works. You can see there is a lot of application. Actually, we make the optimization technique, how for our management, our sustainable management or a natural resource or epidemic model and then different areas. So I am going here to focus on some natural resource management. So how it works and how our computation simulation give this on rise on. So here is a very statistics, very beginning, how our climate change adversely affecting our earth system or ecosystem. You can see about the greenhouse gas emission are mainly responsible for this global warming, and why this is happening last 2 decades, last 2 centuries, because of the unchecked population growth, modernization, industrialization, urbanization. So a lot of things are happening, and due to this case, our global warming happening. And about 83% of atmospheric temperature is produced by man-made. It is very fundamental, and this man-made is come from our industry. So this is a very important how industry is producing such type of greenhouse gases, especially carbon dioxide. So you can see if such situation is continued, our temperature, the last by 2030, it should be 1.34. And by 2050, it should be 56 billion tons. This is very huge and very alarming. And subsequently, the atmospheric temperature will increase by 3.6 degrees centigrade. And by the end of this century, it should be 4.05 degrees centigrade. See, it's more much alarming. So this is actually need for the management of our ecosystem, how we should reduce these greenhouse gases, and how our industry should be controlled by desulfurization using this carbon dioxide to make another less toxic material for our environment, for our climate, so that for our sustainable environment for our future generation. So just a history, you can see this emission of greenhouse gases are mostly responsible for our developing countries, mainly Asian countries, China. Only alone China, 30% are emitting this kind of gases, and all others are 30%. And you can see deforestation is another problem due to this climate change and global warming. In 2019, you can see about 25 millions of hectares are going, this tropical forest are going to be deforestation. So this is very alarming if we not care about this management system and our future for our future generation. So okay, so now how mathematics can be represented this type of situation? We can consider here 3 type of state variables. As I discussed in our theoretical model, 3 state variables. One is greenhouse gas concentration. We can predict, we can analyze this type of gas over the time, our atmospheric temperature, and our human population near coastal area, such like in India and Bangladesh as our coastal belt, and forest biomass F. So these 4 state variables consecutively makes this nonlinear dynamical model. You can see this is very important to make this model, how we formulate this type of model. And this model actually depends on how one state variable is interacting with other state variables, and how one system is going to other with the nonlinear term, nonlinear security. And interesting here, you can see first 2 equation is very nonlinear model, but it is the simple Malthusian growth model, as we know the mathematician. And the second 1 is actually the logistic growth model, because the greenhouse gas and the temperature are rising actually exponentially. So this should be the exponential growth and other two should be the logistic growth model. The main idea is here, all these things are here defined, but idea is here, when we formulate any mathematical model, actually we need to validate this model theoretically. And this validation is important, how this model actually have the solution and how the solution is unique or have many different solutions. So this is actually based on some theory. We are not going to, just I mentioned two fundamental lemma to prove this theory. Now, main idea here to apply such control strategy, how this control can reduce the greenhouse gas emissions and the carbon dioxide for our industry, how to make it desulfurization. So we consider here two control. One is the coastal belt. It is actually very famous and we are doing in our coastal area. So this coastal belt, if the green belt is produced, green belt is constructed in the coastal area, all the temperature are rising, it can be protected by taking these greenhouse gases for their own wealth or food preparation for the trees. Another is the desulfurization. This desulfurization, it can be converted some other less toxic materials which are mainly good for our soil, for our other ecosystems and other for to improving the world ecosystem. So these two control we can make using our model, and this model can be developed. This is the very structure. You can see these four component is connected with these two type of control strategy using such different type of parameter, as we call this parameter value should be calculated using a real situation. The value should be put in the numerical solution, and this control here you can use, and this model is reformulated under this optimization problem. So this optimization problem actually gives our optimal solution and how this control is actively play a role to minimize these greenhouse gases and using the green belt methodology, technology, and the desulfurization, the modern technology for reducing the carbon dioxide. And as well as it is, I can discuss here, our objective is minimize the greenhouse gases and at the same time minimize the cost of the control. So using all these things and proving the theory, I am not going the proof. You can see all the theory is actually done, and the paper is published. Actually, this research is already published. It's a very good Q1 journal, and all my students did this research in the MSc thesis, and it was published in a very Q1 journal. So this is the actual optimal solution, U1 star and U2 star. You can see if you go my website and if you find the paper and all the details there. So I'm just going now the numerical simulation, how it works. You can see
you have 1 more minute to finish.
If we use the control one, this control you can minimize. You can see the greenhouse gas should be reduced significantly, and all others the temperature also should reduce significantly. When we use the control only two, that is the desulfurization, in that case also we can minimize these greenhouse gases and as well as the temperature, and our human ecosystem, our human growth and all other can be raised. But the most significant result is found if we use both control together. You can see we use green belt and desulfurization together, these greenhouse gases should be reduced significantly. And it is possible if we make a community based with the government and the private sector works together, it is significantly possible to reduce these greenhouse gases. So this is actually the combined result. You can see.
Sir, only 1 minute you have.
Yeah, I am almost finished. So this is the case. If we consider all the control together, you can see the blue one. This blue one is very significant results. It can be applied to reduce this greenhouse gases for the management, for the sustainable management of our ecosystem. So finally, it is actually evident that coastal green belt and industrial desulfurization is a very good technology, modern smart technology for the sustainable management and towards achieving the sustainable goal, development goal by 2030. So this is the summary and all the things. There are a lot of publications you can see in my file, and also a group of young researchers as well as some international national collaborators who are working on that. Thank you very much.
Any question?
May I ask the question, Mr. Chairperson?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Please.
Thank you very much. I believe that this is a wonderful research work. I also, engaged myself in nonlinear modeling. So I understand that whenever we try to implement the natural behavior, how nature works, and that's where sustainability is underlying inside the natural behavior. Then we ended up with the layers of nonlinearity. Now, getting the solution of a nonlinear equation or model is a real challenge. Now, people have been trying with this, with so many techniques, let's say polynomial or other technique by truncation method, and so on, so on. So, whenever you conduct research in such area, how you are going to address this issue?
Could you please say again? We cannot understand, I think.
Sorry. What I am saying, we go to inject the natural behavior, how nature behaves. Fundamentally, nature behaves in a chaotic way.
Right.
Nature behaves in a non-linear manner. So, when we try to model the non-linearity of a system, then the model becomes highly non-linear.
Right.
So how you are going to address this issue when you try to solve the model without, compromising with the nonlinearity? Because when you truncate the nonlinearity of a model, then the solution becomes linearized, and you are deviating your result from the chaotic behavior of the system.
Yeah, very interesting. And what you say is actually all nature behaves non-linear way. It is very fundamental. Even not only nature, everything that happening in this universe, everything actually the non-linearity. So this non-linearity gives chaotic nature as well, different chaotic behavior. So, but when we formulate the model, there are two cases. First, we make how nature behaves, how nature interact each other in the system, and considering all this situation, taking some basic assumption, and then we formulate usually in mathematics in terms of non-linearity, and then we go to validate this model actually analytically, because all mathematical model actually should be validated, and it is important how actually the model works and how the model gives the real or unique solution. So when it is analytically validated, then actually we can go for the numerical simulation. How can it predict our future prediction, our future forecasting? How can we make this one? In that case, actually, we need some real data from the system what we are considering. But this challenging is to collect this real data actually. When we go for the real data, it takes actually long time for collecting the data, and in that case, we actually use very international and national organization their data, and then we put this data in our model, how it works, and then under this basis, we actually forecast or we actually predict the situation goes in this way. And if we take a proper measure combinedly, government and NGO, non-government or international organization, this can be possible to a proper management or sustainable management as well. So thank you.